Okay, you're now live.
Hello. Hi, Lucia.
Hi Adele, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm just pulling up uh YouTube onto my phone as well so that I can.
I've got it on here as well.
Oh, well then if you can keep an eye on that, that would be great.
Yeah, no problem at all. We've got an exciting live tonight, haven't we, Adele?
Well, yes, I hope so. I thought, well, I thought on the basis of hello.
Right, someone's got YouTube running in the background. I need to turn that YouTube off. Whoever's watching the video on YouTube, stop
That
it.
was me, sorry.
Okay,
I had to
excellent.
live on
That'll fix it. Okay, cool. I can hear something. I'm sure I can hear something there in the background, and I knew it was one of you.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
So yeah, this week, because I had been trying to make a few connections in America, I got to speak to a lovely lady, Mary, over there. I thought we could do a show kind of about America, about the comprehensive education there, how it's rolled out, how it's developed, kind of how it's just what it looks like over there, because I think it's very important for people to realize that our RSE is the American comprehensive sexuality education. And people, I don't think people want to, when we show videos from America, it's quite like, no, that's, that's not here, that's America. And I think it's important for people to see that that's where this has come from. Not only have we got it, but another 50 countries around the world have also got it.
Yeah, because we're getting a lot of people saying, how could we possibly know what's coming in because it hasn't been properly written yet.
Yeah.
Got all the evidence because it's already there in these countries. It comes from exactly the same place, from the World Health Organization and UNESCO. So we know if we're looking at these countries that have already had this for a couple of years, it's almost like seeing into the future what it's going to be like here. We allow it to pass here. So it's really important that people understand how sinister the education is over in America.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's decades over there, but it's really kind of ramped up in the last 10 years, especially in places like California and Texas. So yeah, I think it's really important that people are aware of this. And so it does mean we'll discuss a little bit again the history of comprehensive sexuality education. We can't talk about it without talking about that. And just for anybody who might not have come across us before, we're Public Child Protection Wales, and we're trying to remove the mandatory relationships and sexuality education, as is being called here, here in Wales, and make the public aware that this is happening here. We're getting sold a very pretty relationships inclusive education, which is going to safeguard children against abuse, and that's not what this is about at all. And yeah, we're just trying to bring people awareness that this education isn't what it is being presented as at all. It's grooming. it's sexualizing, it's desensitizing. It's yeah, something has to be done about it. So yeah, hopefully hopefully some of this information tonight now will help people kind of connect the dots a little bit. So I'm not sure if Grace is supposed to be joining us. Well, I do. She is going to be joining us. Oh, she's there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, you're not on my screen. I don't know how to make everybody appear on it.
How are you, Grace?
Yeah, not too bad. How are you guys?
Yeah, great. Thank you.
And I can see Gwyn and Kira are watching as well. Right, so I'm going to just kind of say how I ended up thinking I do tonight as a bit of a America show. I joined back a couple of months ago. I was trying to find groups on Facebook similar to ours, but over in America. And I joined one which was called the Massachusetts, I can't say that very well for some reason, Informed Parents. And there's a lady, Mary, who had founded this group, and they were fighting the legislation there. And I posted in there last week just asking, would anybody care for a chat? And me and Grace had a Zoom call with her on Friday, told her all about us, and she kind of filled us in what was happening over there, which had much to do with literature and stuff which was coming into their education. And I think, Grace, was it 10 years that Mary said this legislation has been sat there now, but they just haven't mandated it? They tried a few years ago, stopped, and now they were going through it again. I will have a look later if we get a chance, because I did see that she's posted they were in court this week testifying to oppose the legislation, to oppose the bill. And I did see that she had put up a post earlier, so I might have a look at that. And I do know that she posted a video that I quite would like to share as well. So yeah, she made me think that it'd be a good way to have a look at what else is happening. So, like, obviously, to discuss comprehensive sexuality education, we've got to discuss where it started from, which was obviously Alfred Kinsey. And Alfred Kinsey was a zoologist. He was a very perverse individual. I don't think that he was just into every kind of sex act going, and he decided to do research on sex. He was in the Kinsey Institute in Virginia University. His research was funded by the Rockefellers, and he published 2 books on male and female human reproduction, and it was just a huge hit. It was swallowed up by the academics, it was swallowed up by everybody. And
do you think as well, though, the reason why it was such a hit was because of the people involved in funding it?
Oh, most definitely. And because it was saying what a lot of people wanted to hear, especially men. And I think it's important that people realize, like, nobody wants to think that there's corrupt governments, that there's corrupt judges, that there's corrupt, you know, people, these people who are making our laws and, you know, legislations, that they would be corrupt, or that they would, I'm not going to say paedophiles, because they're not all paedophiles. You know, not everybody who abuses, rapes, harms, and is a paedophile.
I think it's important for people to remember that the fact that those books that Alfred had written and shared, and people are believing, and the education is based on, was mainly by paedophiles. The data was, you know, child
Oh,
abuse. I think
absolutely.
that's something that is important for people to remember. Okay, they, you know, obviously we can't go saying that the people making these legislations, etc., and these policies are.
Oh no, but
But
no,
that's where it is all from,
absolutely.
though, realistically, isn't it?
So that's so this is what I'm saying. So people, you know, people who are like, there are people of power that like to hurt and abuse. And when Kinsey's research came out, his research was then used to change the laws on child abuse, because this research was now showing that actually most men are like this, most people are like this. You know, it's normal to engage in these behaviors. And like Grace said, it was only when his research was exposed many years later that his research came from a population, you know, he was going into prisons. A huge amount came from paedophiles, as we know in his chapter, which was sexuality in children. It was this research that claimed that children were sexual from birth, children, you know, children needed to be sexually liberated. And, you know, it was from this that comprehensive sexuality education was born. I'll actually read you. So I've taken this off there's a website called Stop CSE. It's an American website, and there's a part in here which comes from Miriam Grossman. For those who are not aware, Miriam Grossman is a physician in America. She has spent years exposing comprehensive sexuality education. Also, she's testified in court appearances. She's spoken in the House of Lords here. And, you know, there is Miriam, and then there's a few other you know, very influential people in getting knowledge out about this. Again, Judith Reisman being the main person who exposed this. So I'm just going to read some of what is on this. And this was a speech at the United Nations. And it says, international recognized expert and medical doctor. And she asked, who came up with the notion that is necessary to teach the world's children about high-risk sex acts their parents have never heard of? Planned Parenthood and the Sexuality Information Education Council of the United States, which is SICAS. These groups portray themselves as guardians of our children's health and claim to provide students with all the information and skills that they need to make smart choices. Their curricula, they declare, are comprehensive, age-appropriate, ideologically neutral, and medically accurate. I've discovered that the version of groups such as Planned Parenthood and SICAS, the groups at the helm of sexuality education in the United States, is not sexual health, it is sexual freedom. These large and powerful organizations believe in sexuality that extends from cradle to grave. They tactfully endorse early sexual activity and multiple partners, as well as sexual experimentation, which are the very behaviours that fuel the epidemics of sexually transmitted diseases, HIV, AIDS, abortion, and emotional distress. And it's important to say that they're on them because they're the very things that comprehensive sexuality education is claiming to fix. And I just think, I don't know if, for those who are maybe confused as to how this links in with our RSE, relationship sexuality education, is because even though it was presented to us, I use presented to us loosely, because it wasn't presented to us, the public, the parents, at all. It's been very well hidden away from us. But it's been presented as a Welsh education designed by Welsh parents, Welsh experts, you know, Welsh students, and are very quietly keeping the information behind that the World Health Organization is the one who is driving this. You know, that our UK government signed up to comprehensive sexuality education for the UK in 2017. Family Planning Association, which is all mixed in with the International Planned Parenthood Federation, with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, you know, so it's Family Planning Association then presented the 2010 WHO document to the UK government. We know that's the document which has masturbation from birth. They were presented with this document and they signed up to it. The UK government signed up to a mandatory, from 3, mandatory global comprehensive sexuality education. That was in 2017. Obviously in 2018, UNESCO updated their guidelines, which is contained information from the WHO guidance. This is written with, you know, input from CCAS, from Planned Parenthood, from UniAid, International Planned Parenthood Federation. The UK government fund them a lot of money. You know, they've offices in London. So they've all then created this 2018 UNESCO document, which is what we are now using. That is what is referenced in our curriculum, in our consultation reports. And Kirsty Williams, as we know, is denying that this is a global comprehensive sexuality education. We also know that she has stated that UNESCO is what will be set in, their guidance is what will be set in our RSE code. So now, again, I know people are waiting for us to talk about the consultation report as well. And that just to state, that consultation report tells us nothing on what information is coming from UNESCO. So we still know nothing about, other than what they say this RSE code's going to be, but we don't, there's no further information. So, yeah, people need to be aware that Planned Parenthood, so when we're showing you things from America, which are Planned Parenthood, which is CCAS, this is all in our UNESCO document. They're just together now, all in this UNESCO document.
And just to sort of say as well, a lot of the UNESCO document it doesn't look that sinister when you're reading through it. There's a lot of information there, but you have to have a, you know, like you really do need to go through it with a fine tooth comb to actually realize. Whoa.
Absolutely. You know, the new document from UNESCO doesn't cover masturbation in those first couple of years, like the WHO document, but it all comes in from age 9 on those documents anyway. And again, it's linking these documents. I'll come into that a moment anyway. I'll a little bit more history. Like I said, it's linking those documents, and like the most important thing being is that the term and the idea of children being sexual from birth, that children should have sexual rights, that is all from Kinsey. It's in his research, is what's been promoted ever since. So we have that, and then we have the UNESCO documents, which at age 9, the key objective to learn is that all humans are born sexual with the capacity for sexual pleasure. So it's in the UNESCO document. We know that's Kinsey's ideology, that's his research. So I'll just read you a little bit more of this here. So it says, those who practice these lifestyles endorsed by these groups have more doctors' appointments, not less. I've studied the history of sex education, and one of the things you need to understand is that sex education is a social movement. Its goal is to change society. That was true 50 years ago when it began, and it is still true. The objective is to change my society and now yours. One of the learning objectives of sexuality education is to change social norms. Envision a world without sexual taboos and restrictions, a world free of Judeo-Christian morality, where each individual, regardless of age, should be free to make his or hers own sexual choices, and no judgment is allowed. It's an anything goes as long as you use a condom philosophy of sex education. So that was just Mary Calderon again. So if I'll just go back and just briefly just go over again how Kinsey's ended up in this real quick. Obviously Mary Calderon. So Mary Calderon was a big Kinsey fan, and she was the medical director to Planned Parenthood. So we've talked about this many times. You had Hugh Hefner. So Playboy hadn't started yet, but Hugh Hefner, again, that was started also on the back of then this when Seeker. So Hugh Hefner funded Mary Calderon to start Seekers, and with Mary was Wardle Pomeroy. Wardle Pomeroy was Kinsey's right-hand man in terms of his research. So Mary and Wardle started Seekers and sexuality education, comprehensive sexuality education in the United States was born. Calderon believed there was urgent need to break traditional views. She wanted a proper sex education that would teach children that they were sexual beings and that the expression of their sexuality is positive, neutral, and healthy for all ages. Referring to Kinsey's research, so this again, this is what was all being promoted by Seekers when they first started, was that professionals who study children have affirmed the strong sexuality of the newborn. Children are sexual, they think sexual thoughts, and they do sexual things. Also, we know they were big pushers of incest. That was their biggest thing that they wanted to legalize. So it says, to date now, Seekers of Planned Parenthood have been the world leaders in creating and promoting comprehensive sexuality educations that incorporate Kinsey's controversial sex philosophies and that encourage children and adults to explore their alleged sexual desires without constraints. CECAS has partnered with United Nations Educational Scientific, UNESCO, and Nanette Ecker from CECAS, one of the main authors of UNESCO. So that's where the links are when we mention Planned Parenthood or anything like that kind of comes into that. So, oh, sorry, let me get a bit more comfortable. I'm just gonna have a little quick look here.
Yeah, you shared that
At the
video.
comments there a moment.
You shared that video of that ex-employee from Planned Parenthood as well.
So yes, that's what I was actually, thank you. That was a brilliant prompt there, Lucia. So I can say for people who are watching as well, who want to understand about, because you've got to stop looking, parents now need to stop researching relationships and sexuality education, or they've slipped a H in it now, relationships and sexuality health education, or SRE, whatever it is. You need to stop researching that, because that's not what this is. This is comprehensive sexuality education. So research that, and you're going to find stuff on it which is UK information, because it's not from here. Again, on our website, all the documents, you can see the documents of all the evidence of the UK government signing up for this. So yeah, comprehensive sexuality education people need to look at. But Sharon Slater, who is American, she is the founder of Family Watch International, and her videos are brilliant. We watched quite a few of those at the beginning, and they really helped us understand all the connections with the CECAS and everything like that. So then, yeah, when I was in one of the groups the other day, somebody had posted in one American group, somebody had posted a podcast for a lady called Monica Klein. I'm thinking I probably could play some of that video. Now, Monica Klein used to work at Planned Parenthood, and she was in charge of teaching and creating CSC. And yeah, I listened to her podcast. I thought she was brilliant, and I was like, oh, I have to search more. Actually, will I play that video of hers? I don't have to necessarily play it all because it is a long video, but I can just play the beginning of it. And
yeah, it was really
insightful.
It was
She's very what I really liked about her was not only was she informative and was happy to share her experience and her knowledge, but she was very family orientated as well. She believed in the importance of family.
Right, I'm frozen there a second, trying to move my screen. Right, if you share my screen, I should be able to play it for you. Right, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Right, fingers crossed the sound comes out now. And I'll just play you a little bit of this.
You welcome, please, with me, Monica Klein.
it is a pleasure to be with all of you today. I love being in a room with like-minded people who love family, who love liberty, and who love our country and are people of faith. And sometimes doing this work, I don't know about you, feels lonely. So to be here with all of you is very comforting. My name is Monica Leal Klein, and I'm the founder of It Takes a Family. I educate and equip parents with the knowledge and skills necessary to strengthen family trust and confidence. My goal is to help parents reclaim parenthood, but this wasn't always my story. I'm a former comprehensive sex educator and Title X training manager of over 10 years. I was trained by both the gay community and Planned Parenthood. I not only taught comprehensive sex education, but I also lived it. I started this career in 1996. Planned Parenthood was integral in teaching me how to reach school-age children. I received a private training from the Director of Sex Education in Austin, Texas. She began my training by making the case for comprehensive sex education. She described girls as young as 10 coming into Planned Parenthood with objects in their bodies, sexually transmitted diseases, and yes, even having abortions. And I was horrified by the stories, and my first reaction was, teach me how to teach these girls not to have sex. She reached over and patted me on the knee and she said, no, dear, we're not going to teach them not to have sex. We're going to teach them how to do it safer. You see, we meet them where they're at and we teach them how to do it safer. Telling them not to have sex is judging because you're judging their choices. My heart sank, but I was convinced. I knew, this was the expert, right? This is the person, this is Planned Parenthood receiving Title X funding. They're receiving all sorts of funding, so I thought I could trust her. So here's the first activity that she taught me, which is meant to break down the natural inhibitions of our children. The kids are asked to name their reproductive parts from medically accurate terms to slang terminology. At first, the kids are shy. But when they notice that the authority in the room is encouraging them, they become a bit more comfortable and begin to share out loud. By the end of the activity, even the most shy student is participating and giggling. Sometimes the educator may even ask the kids to use a marker to write the words themselves on the board. And what's left on the board is a collage of crass and dehumanizing words that objectify the human person and sexual activity. Now that they're comfortable with these sexual terms, the next lesson is to talk about their different types of sex. We covered oral sex, vaginal sex, and anal sex and all its associated bodily fluids. It means we talked about sex toys, tattoos, piercings, multiple partners, condom negotiation, dental dams, saran wrap, role plays to practice the negotiation skills, and informing partners about sexually transmitted infections. So whether those children were actually sexually active or not, it was the comprehensive sex educator's job to introduce them to every possible form of sex, which objectifies and dehumanizes the person and normalizes sex at a young age. So what just happened here? Let me break it down for you. Planned Parenthood attempts to convince the culture that the sexual risk avoidance message brings judgment to people. Planned Parenthood does not believe in moral absolutes, but rather relativism. They believe that moral absolutes are judgmental, and they use that lie to silence parents and the culture. They've reduced our children and humanity down to very animalistic level. They're basically saying that kids are sexual from birth and are driven by their sexual desires, especially at puberty. They believe that they can't help themselves and they shouldn't have to, and they call this their sexual rights. And that's the next point, sexual rights. When we talk about someone having rights taken from them, we envision an oppressor. So who is the oppressor? Who in all the world would not want children having sex? The parent. Planned Parenthood views protective, conservative, faith-filled, moral absolute believing parents as pesky and a barrier to service. In my 10 years working with Planned Parenthood, at every training, at every workshop, and at every conference, I always heard, this is their quote, parents are a barrier to service. Planned Parenthood endears themselves to youth and attempts to replace the parent using secrets, or as the CDC calls it, privacy and confidentiality. Point number 4, grooming and sexual abuse. The activity used to break down inhibitions is very much like grooming for sexual abuse. It is a slow progression of getting children comfortable with talking about sexually explicit topics with adults who are not their parents. Basically, comprehensive sex education breaks down inhibitions and prepares children for sexual activity and sexual discussions. My belief is that this type of education normalizes sexually explicit conversations with adults who are not their parents, placing these children at risk of being coerced by sexual predators in person and online, because it's become normalized. The last is to promote the use of condoms, lubrication, testing, treatment, and abortion. You see, when Planned Parenthood teaches children to objectify themselves and the sexual act, then it's just a natural next step to then objectify and dehumanize the unborn child. Then that.
So I'll stop it. I'll stop it there now. Yeah, what did you think of that video?
Do you know what? I don't know why it's in, because, you know, we know about.
Oh, who's paused?
Has she frozen for you, Del?
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh, I wasn't sure if it was me who was frozen.
No,
No.
it was frozen. It is
Yeah.
normally you, to be fair, isn't it?
Yeah, I thought she was hugely informative, so I definitely recommend people to check out Monica Klein. Just trying to think now. So I just wanted to just covering on what Monica said there. It's just saying about what is the CSE, the Comprehensive Sexuality Education Agenda. And it's one of the main goals of CSE is to radically change the gender and sexual norms of society and to establish rights for children as sexual rights. Activists claim that children must have unfettered access to comprehensive sexuality information that leaves no sexual knowledge behind. That children are naturally sexual from birth, therefore restrictions on sexual expression and activity violates sexual rights. To good health, sexual experiences either alone, masturbation, or with persons of either gender. A right to sexual pleasure, a right to abortion and sexual relations without parental knowledge, right to experiment with sexual identities and orientations, the list goes on, a right to all sexual information uncensored and without parental consent, the societal, sexual and gender norms to be changed, to enlist a youth to combat phobias and advocate for sexual rights, and have the youth participate in the design of comprehensive sexuality education. When I was looking the other day, yesterday, I was just briefly telling you this, Grace, I came across a YouTube channel which is called My Little Yoni. This is again American, and I want to see what your opinions are on this. My Little Yoni is for age 4+. I came across an article 2 nights ago, and this article was how this YouTube channel has been created for parents and children to watch together. And it's to break down barriers and get parents comfortable talking about vaginas with their children. And it was of a teddy. It was a teddy, a love heart teddy with wings. But the teddies, at first, I didn't even see the headline. You know, the picture caught my eye. And I looked at it and I went, well, that looks like a vagina. And then I seen the headline and realized, oh, it is a teddy vagina, but in the shape of a love heart with wings. And then I read the read up for it and how this was some kids cartoon thing. Oh God. And I'm gonna share it with you now. There's actually
They actually made a vagina teddy.
it's yeah, the vagina teddy was on I don't know if the teddy was just, I hope the teddy was just made for a photo for the article. Otherwise, it is a teddy for kids to take to bed.
Yeah, it's very. Oh, I wasn't muted then. It's very stomach turning of a thought, really, isn't it? To me, I just find that very, very disturbing. And I'm already kind of, oh, I'm watching this video because I know it's going to be kind of like, oh, what's that word? Sickly. It's just sicky.
Oh, sorry, I'm just,
Hello.
whoa. Right, I'm going to share my screen again, okay? I'm looking forward to seeing what you think about this. Right, can you see my screen? Can you see my screen? Can you hear me?
I'm muted. Yeah, I can see you.
Okay, right. So this is what I found when I typed in this little Yoni. And first of all, I thought, what is this? A vagina is running for president. So this isn't the one these ain't the ones, but for example.
I'm my little Yoni, the world's first vagina superhero, and I'm announcing my candidacy to run for president. This country is in desperate need of a new kind of leader. That's why I'm here from the Yoniverse to help you get back on track. But before you ask me what party I'm running with, I want you to stay open-minded. I don't actually have a party. I mean, I like to party. That's why I'm bringing the party to politics in 2020. I vow to make comprehensive sex education a top priority. I guarantee you that more critical thinking will help boost our GNP and lead to greater satisfaction nationwide. Did you know that in Brazil they have a National Orgasm Day? Well, you can count on me to create this national holiday my first year in office. You're welcome.
I'll leave that there for a second anyways. Like I said, so this is for
That's for 4-year-olds.
This is family from age 4 up, but I will show you, right? So then
And critical thinking, mind. That's
yeah. And then you've got this little one, how to hear the amazing elusive vulva chords. Again, this is the same channel. This is a for family, age 4.
I heard your Yoni's calling my
believe that.
What? In a
Like,
way, it's a what did I just watch?
yeah, absolutely.
But I just think that's wrong. I wouldn't let my 8-year-old see it just now. It's just
It gets worse. It gets worse. So this one.
But back to this episode. Like the ones that like I could put some yonis in the store and pretend that people have to buy it. And then they could spy on people when people go past them with their eyes. I just want to be a spy and I want a team. These ones could just pull us up like birds with their talons, right? I want to be a protector of the world. That's what type of spy. Yonis are protectors of the world. I feel protected by yonis. And also, what time is it? I like that there's different types. Like ones that are both, ones that have wings, ones that are not both, and ones that don't have wings. I like everything about it.
to me, that just shows how innocent the mind is. You
Absolutely,
know, at
it's
that
showing
age.
how it, but it's again, look at the, you've got a child there talking about how it's going to sell its vagina
Mm.
to grown-ups. Like it's desensitizing and normal. Like a vagina isn't supposed to be normal and something kids play with and write stories about. Now, this is the one I find most concerning, is this one now. When this child is describing what its yoni is going to do.
Can we just be clear? A yoni
Hang on, yeah, one sec.
is
Yeah,
a vagina, basically, isn't it?
sorry.
Do you know from the video earlier with the legs over there with that brrr sound?
Yeah.
That was basically, was that the video saying that a yoni is basically a vagina?
Oh yeah,
The
the
character.
teddy is a vagina.
So-
Yeah, so the teddy, that love heart thing, is a vagina. It's got the inner.
And they're
That's what
portraying
that
it
child
to
was
the
just saying, like,
vaginas are
sort of
protectors of the
cool.
world.
And then yeah, when they were led on the floor doing the yoga moves, with their leg up and down, it was called the vulva yoni call. So that was saying, like, this is the call of your yoni. So every time they say the word
So
yoni,
a
that means
slang,
vagina.
so put this in a slang way, like most like teenagers and stuff, you know, probably do say, or
Yeah,
that an olden word which has been commonly used. So that would
yeah,
be like a pussy call.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
but you just put it in a child-friendly way.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's so
It's,
wrong. And that child, how old was he? He must have been about 5, 6.
yeah, I think maybe, yes.
That was just so, that's just
Well, here's another one. See what you think of this one.
If I'm a superhero, I can do whatever I want.
So this is a vagina superhero. So what is this vagina superhero going to do?
Ashlyn, it's so good to see you again. Thank you for joining me on Yoni Talk.
Thank you for inviting me today, my Leonie.
Absolutely, girl. I love how you're all about spreading love and self-acceptance. If your Yoni had a DJ name, what would it be?
My Yoni's DJ name would probably be DJ Love and Acceptance, because I feel like my Yoni's goal in life is to spread love and only love, and to accept everybody in all that they are in that moment.
Oh, girl, I love that.
Sorry, can anyone see the issue there with an adult saying that their vagina is to love and accept anybody, and that's
I didn't
goal
realise it was still
of the
mixed in
vagina? This is a child's educational program.
We just had a
So if
6-year-old,
your
5
Yoni
to
was ice
6-year-old
cream flavor, what flavor would it be?
Let's see. If my Yoni was an ice cream flavor, I think it would be a coffee flavor, because my Yoni wakes me up every morning and gives me so much energy and does the same thing as coffee does for you.
Dude, that's some inspiration. I wish I could give up coffee. Sis, I hope we have more adventures together, because you're going places, and I really dig how you see the world.
Thank you, my little Yoni.
So like, there's loads more. There's just loads of them, and I was just so shocked last night at the moment that when I watched the one with the adult, with the woman saying, like, you know, her Yoni, you know, again, let's just, being as this comprehensive sexuality education is supposed to be saying that we're not to say it by these softer terms, we've got to use the proper biological terms, vulva, vagina. So, you know, you've got an adult saying, my vulva is to love everybody. My vulva's is about acceptance. You know, my vulva wakes me up happy every morning and gives me.
Yeah, that's the next bit I was going to say, and how it tastes.
Yeah.
You know, why go there?
Why
Like,
would you be having why
I think
would you be having an educational program which is saying for you to basically have that conversation with your child? So, darling, what flavor ice cream do you think your vulva is? Like, that is crazy. That is absolutely crazy. Children are not supposed to
if you're going to encourage, I think if you're going to encourage or support parents to talk with their children at young ages, pre-teens, in teenage years, about them things, that is definitely not how to go about it.
No, it's not by promoting it, promoting their
Absolutely
genitals as a toy.
And I just think it's very absurd. Could a child, say my 8-year-old, then access that video, or is it for a certain age, that video then? Because that was clearly a woman, you know?
Yeah. Like, it's very it's very like, again, lots of people are saying, and Monica, we've said it in the past, and Monica said it on that video, what is wrong with teaching children about the medical names for their genitals? Because they don't need to know the medical names of their genitals. They don't.
Not a young age.
We've said it a million times. If teachers are trained properly in safeguarding and how children might come out with disclosures, I don't want to hear that, oh, a teacher might not know when Betty says Uncle Bob licked my cookie or my mouse or my car, all this, because it's the same line every time. Uncle so-and-so licked my so-and-so. Well, unless that teacher...
Or as a secret name, they say,
Yeah,
you know, I can't tell you.
Unless you've got a teacher who has absolutely no time whatsoever to ever talk to the children and says, oh, and just wanders off and off. You're going to ask them questions. It's a natural, and I would imagine that if a child is making that kind of disclosure to a teacher, they're not coming up saying it in a manner of skipping happy, like it's some exciting news. And if teachers, and you know, again, there may already be little red flags which have been noticed. And if teachers were aware of actually who are the vulnerable children in their class anyway, not it just be that it's the child who's maybe comes from the house, you know, with more poverty or something like that. You know, the child that the parent, you know, the teacher decides is maybe not coming from a good home, that there's children in that class that if you knew about perpetrators of abuse and, you know, the kind of children that they target and the statistics on children who are targeted, the teachers would be more tuned in straight away to who has the potential to be the vulnerable children in their classroom.
Yeah, it's always it's a high case of adults reporting from historical, and I think a better education for teachers and for parents is the way to.
But this is about desensitizing.
Definitely.
And children are going to be seeing a lot of books, and you know, through the even with the puberty and all that, and it's real life videos and exposure to adult genitals, and we don't want children, especially girls, desensitized to genitals. Male genitals, female genitals look quite different, and even though a young boy or a girl being exposed to adult female genitalia is still a shock, as a child to see male genitalia it really causes a reflex. And the more we expose young children to this, they are not going to have that reflex anymore.
I think the video that we were made aware of not too long ago is a perfect example of that. Again, although it's not real, it's still very graphic and kind of real life. You know,
most
as
definitely.
a young girl, if I was around, you know, that 8 years, 9 years, 10 years, 12 years, I would have been horrified by that. I would have.
Absolutely. This kind of leads me on to secondary school as well. And again, just to address on Wales, and it mentions this in the consultation. Again, it's going to be a drip, drip, drip. Because RSE is only going to be, when it comes in September 2022, it's only going to be in year 7. It doesn't go into year 8 until the year after. Year 9, the year after that, and so forth. So again, it is limited, and obviously it gets more graphic as it goes along. So it's not until you get to that 14 plus stage where it's much more graphic. The public's already been getting used to it slowly over a couple of years.
Yeah, they've said themselves it's being phased in.
And it's being woven completely into the curriculum. For example, which seems to be starting to get exposed, is, so they've told us, so they won't be, so when parents are saying, I'm going to pull this out of lesson, there is no RSE lesson for you to pull your child out of. It is woven into the curriculum, so it will be part of math lesson, of English, of science lesson,
history.
It'll all be in that. For example, English literature. And we've been seeing some videos. So again, I'm going to play another video in a moment of some of the literature which is in America. Again, the Massachusetts informed parents, I know, were actually, I may have got them confused with another lady, which was Maria, who was on the Monica Klein podcast I was listening to talking about literature. She is the one, actually, she is the one who got me then looking at other stuff. So actually this is, the video will be linked to this. So they're in Leander in Texas, and they're battling the school board over the approved literature which has come from the Department of Education. And this is on the back of, as well, they are trying to remove books like To Kill a Mockingbird, because it promotes racism. So they're battling over an approved list of sexually explicit books that eroticize sexual abuse and adult child romantic sexual violence. So one particular book, she reads this in a little bit of detail on the podcast, and it's horrific. And it's about, so this is 9th grade. Again, I think we looked before, 9th grade is 12, 13. And it's got a 3rd grade reading level. So I don't know what that means. I think so. It's written, whatever 3rd grade, maybe what, 6, 7, something like that. So it's readable for that age. But it's recommended. It's therefore 9th grade. And it is a girl who is sexually abused by her stepfather. She eventually goes to, it's a minor, so she's underage. She goes to the church and explains, tells them, where the priest then encourages her to marry her stepfather. It has graphic teen sex in it.
7, 8 years old this would be for.
So it's from 9th grade, but the reading level then is from
7 to 8.
So if you're 7, 8 years old and you can read, you'd be able to read this book, no problem. So and the point being, so for this, even though it's online, it's also in school libraries.
Yeah.
You know, anybody can access it. At one point, the stepdaughter has got a boyfriend. He kidnaps them. He ties the boyfriend to a tree. He forces the 10-year-old little brother to watch. Then the stepfather beats and rapes his.
Yeah, I was reading about this one not long ago.
So that is for 9th grade. There's another book, what we saw, which has graphic gang rape by football players, drinking, drug use. And you know, they've been kicking off over there. Actually, I'll play the clip. I'll play the clip here that I have. Just so I move my Zoom across a second. And I'll play that. I'm just sharing my screen. And then I'll just put that here, and I'll play it from about here. So they are discussing, what they are discussing before this is the removal of To Kill a Mockingbird from the literature, and then it goes on.
Because it causes something called racial trauma due to the fact there are white people in it.
It's funny how they are so afraid of their children seeing another view of sexuality, gender, or religion. If you want to talk about books that are assigned, let's read To Kill a Mockingbird together. If you aren't willing to consider the racial trauma this assigned book causes Black children with its white saviorism, then you have no business discussing any books.
Oh, so if you don't consider To Kill a Mockingbird racist, says Andrea Weisskopf, then, quote, you have no business discussing any books. Can you even imagine what this lady's personal life must be like? Miserable does not even begin to describe it. Desperate, hellish. But if she somehow looks familiar, there's a reason for that. You've heard Andrea Weisskopf hurt their children. But that's changing, finally. Some parents have had enough of this. Watch this mother at this week's Loudoun County School Board meeting.
CRT is not an honest dialogue. It is a tactic that was used by Hitler and the Ku Klux Klan on slavery very many years ago to dumb down my ancestors, so we could not think for ourselves. CRT is racist. It is abusive. It discriminates against one's color. Let me educate you. An honest dialogue does not oppress. An honest dialogue does not implement hatred or injustice. It's to communicate with without deceiving people. Today, we don't need your agreement. We want action and a backbone for what we asked for today, to ban CRT. I had to come down here today to tell you to your face that we are coming together and we are strong. This will not be the last. Greet and meet respectfully.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I thought I had it in the right place, I did. But obviously, I did not.
Never signed the Emancipation Proclamation, slavery is still underway.
Instead, I've got a whole
That's the view of some guy who's literally claiming to be a college professor. But he's not alone. People like that are in charge of the schools now. Low IQ vandals. My mother had the temerity to read portions of those books aloud at the Loudoun County School Board meeting. Watch.
Jasper wasn't even my boyfriend, just this dude I did some hacking with once in a while. He was pretty basic library systems, low security, not in my league at all, but he had a big and sometimes a girl just needs a big.
Her top lip curled up. Wait a minute, is that what's really going on? She did your homework and you ate her. Is that why you're crying?
It's okay. It's cool. This is what girls do at parties. I told myself and kept dancing with the boy. I couldn't see the alcohol making my waist wind faster. If this is inappropriate for me to read to you, this is inappropriate for our children. How much did the billion-dollar porn industry contribute to the LCPS? My question is now, are you going to use the whole language approach to coincide with this bio reading and teach pole dancing in PE?
No, that was not To Kill a Mockingbird with Scout. And
do you know what? I thought I thought I had a different clip there. I'm sorry, so I'd stopped that at the wrong place. I've got one of three. There are three teachers also talking about it, and what they say is going into detail. It's really, really shocking. But I wanted to include that as well because yesterday I seen a post on Facebook and it's from the Irish Times. Now I've got family in Ireland, so when I obviously first learned about the CSE, I was quickly looking to see what was going on in Southern Ireland as well. And of course, in Southern Ireland, you've got Educate and Celebrate, which is the big promotion campaign over there. And that's run by Peter Tatchell. And for those who don't know Peter Tatchell, he's openly, publicly said that he thinks that consensual sex with a 9-year-old is okay.
That's peculiar.
Yeah. So, and this is the guy that's pushing for the the sex ed over there. And when I looked at it for Southern Ireland, from what I could see, that they have the WHO documents in play over there, where we have UNESCO. Right, hopefully I got enough time to read this now because it is quite long, but still I'll read the best I can and skip what I can. This was an open letter that was in the Irish Times saying some parents very concerned about the adult content on junior and leaving cert English syllabus depicting paedophilia, bestiality, graphic underage sex and extreme violence that includes the torture of animals, humans and animals. Now, I know this book here, I think, is also one of the books that I heard on the podcast the other day. So again, it's the same, you know, it's the same books. So this was former Minister Willie O'Dea and Minister Norma Foley. This was on books which were in the curriculum, as I said, for the junior and leaving cert. It says how many of the texts and films on the NCCA prescribed list for the English curriculum in secondary schools contain explicit graphic sexual content, including sex between older adults and minors, bestiality and violence, including torture. They focus on death in a macabre way. He pointed out that several texts on the list have previously been banned in the UK and the US, but are over there. So it goes on to talk about them. Here, then you have this Wendy's letter. So to the Education Minister. So it says, I was delighted to see you appointed as our new Education Minister in June 2020. Thank you for your dedication during these challenging times, and I'm sure you will continue to do a wonderful job as your past pupils speak so highly of your competence and commitment. She goes on to say about literature and how he was very literacy minded and how they've come across these concerning texts in the prescribed list for the leaving cert. Many parents and teachers are concerned and horrified at some of the inappropriate content, and it is because of that during the last 9 months I have conducted a comprehensive examination of all material on the prescribed list to examine the claim that many of these texts have little or no true literacy or inspirational educational content and have simply been chosen for the contemporary theme that they represent. So again, this is how we put sex education into other classes. I have included a link to my report at the end of this letter. In the following paragraphs, there is a few examples of defending material. The books I'm referring to contain and unashamedly promote highly sexualized themes and outline and describe in very graphic details sexual scenes. For example, where a minor is subjected to oral sex in a car by an older man and decides afterwards that she rather enjoyed the experience. This scene is graphically described in detail and spread over 5 pages. A minor has sex with a man who kidnaps her, ties her up, who again recalls the experience with longing. That's noughts and crosses. Minors are actively encouraged by their teachers to have sex with each other in another one. And then she says the following reviews that she's taken. So it says, Sarah Taylor, which I already referred to, contains a barrage of offensive words and phrases. Crotch giblets in my pants, human fucking being, would you let me suck your dick sucker. Look, sorry, parental violence here. It has 5 descriptive scenes and references to masturbation, several scenes of physical violence, drug use, references to sexual acts, sexual thoughts, saying obviously there's no merit for the classroom. Another book which is recommended for 2nd and 3rd year, so that it would be year 7 and 8. Describes horrific scenes of bondage and torture, promotes bestialities. In one chapter, a huntress captures and performs surgery on people and animals, in which she chops and then fuses their body parts together to form new entities. I'm sorry, this is graphic. And she thinks how wonderful it would be if I could combine the body of an animal and the intelligence of a human. The room in which the torture and surgery is carried out is described in graphic detail, such as stained with blood, chains and manacles upon them, leather restraints. The one side of the table was a rack of knives and blades and surgical tools. It goes on to say how
Can I just say, you know, when you read, I like reading, and I'm sure you do as well. Now, when you're reading a book, it goes to the imaginative part of your brain. So you start imagining that bedroom, the knives, the table. You know, can you imagine how horrifying and scarring that is for time to read?
Absolutely. Well, this
That's
if
a
this goes
deep
on,
level of
this talks about
desensitizing mentally, you know.
It talks about again how ripping people apart now and eating them, and
That's cannibalism as well. Bloody hell.
Yeah. It goes on to say how there was this naked man, naked woman would have children brought to them, do things to them. There's another book, The Boy Who Lost His Face, which is recommended for year 7, promotes paedophilia with teenage boys looking at pictures of young underage girls. And it says most of the girls were pretty young, probably under 7. And it says, although the author describes the story of feeling disgusted with himself, he still kept looking, and here he was getting his kicks at looking at them again. Again, it goes on. I'm aware of the time, because I could just, this was a huge post, and it's again just more books with more sexual violence, more murder, more suicide, more torture.
It's just absolutely.
I read Of Mice and Men. That was my English lit book, you know.
Macbeth, I remember in my comp years, but when I was younger, you know, I used to love reading Roald Dahl and Emma Bunton, and there's a few other ones, you know.
Yeah. And but this is like, this is where we're like, we're just on we really need people to be aware of comprehensive sexuality education. And I will
Breaking up, you are, Del.
Fine for you. This is can you hear me all right? Can you hear me? Is everything okay?
You're still robotic.
Can you hear me and nobody's still a bit robotic, am I? All right, well, if I get on anyway,
Yeah, I can't understand a word you're saying, and your picture is frozen as well.
and this is just in the right, is that better?
Yeah,
I don't know,
much
but I've shut
better.
my
Your
internet. I don't know
picture's
if
still
that's better.
frozen, but I can hear you.
Yeah, no, I think it's just because I tried to go onto Facebook on the laptop. Oh, hang on, I think it's also probably to do with the fact that actually my laptop's going to shut down now. Oh, there we are. I'll show that another time. I'll post that onto our group, actually, onto our education group. This video, it's a Planned Parenthood video on porn. The title very much suggests that it's going to be a video on the dangers of it, but the opposite is true. So I hope people kind of seen a connection now with our RSE and America. It's not even a connection, that is what it is. But again, just the connections on Planned Parenthood and all those involved. And I want people to think about Planned Parenthood is the largest NGO of sexual health on this planet. International Planned Parenthood Federation, they are huge, and they make their money from sexually active people. And just to point out here, actually, so because younger children, because teenagers, young girls are not fully mature enough physically, their body hasn't developed the same stronger barriers that an adult has. So in America, it's saying here 50% of the 20 million new STIs, so that's 10 million of these STIs every year, are from people aged 15 to 24. But yet people aged 15 to 24 only make up 20% of the population that are having sex, because they are so high risk to STIs. So they're also the biggest cluster. So if you've only got 27% of the teens being sexually active, and you're promoting a education, which again, research will come into this another time as well, because it's just not possible to get it all in.
It's a very deep, this is it, isn't it? Because there's so many big organizations, so many different people involved. It is kind of
absolutely
so many layers to it. We would need a good few hours to talk about it.
It's saying 40% of teens, this is America now, age 18 to 19, say that their state comprehensive sexuality education made them feel more pressure to have sex, and 32% felt more pressure from the comprehensive sexuality education than by their partners. And research is showing that only 30% of teens refrain from being sexually active out of fear of pregnancy. So the other 70% is because it's nothing to do with pregnancy. They're not doing it because they don't want to do it. But yet 95% of comprehensive sexuality education normalizes teen sex and solely focuses on pregnancy prevention. So, you know, this is huge. This is huge. We talked about it all the way through. Like, honest to God, we can do this for hours because there's so much to talk about. But
yeah,
this is about desensitizing, sexualizing. This is implementing an ideology. This is normalizing the first step that even enters children into the range. Again, this is sexual rights. This is autonomy. Children have got autonomy over their bodies. Children have agency. Children have sexual rights. This is what this is about. Children have the right to enjoy sexual pleasure. And now we are normalizing and making everybody okay with children having sex with each children. So long as they're having sex with each other, that's step one to normalizing this.
And this is another thing, you know, the peer-on-peer abuse then will you know,
It's
it's
already skyrocketing. It's skyrocketing every abuse. That's another show in itself.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. That's another thing. See, you know, it's even this drip feeding thing, you know, is causing a lot of damage. The full scale of the lessons, I dread to think. I really do dread to think. And I hope the more people start looking into these things, like watching that Klein lady talking, who's got the experience, who's got the knowledge, willing to inform. She's sent it to the family by the sound of that video. And I hope they'll come to the 4th of June and just
well, that's why I just wrap up on saying hopefully, so I've emailed Monica. It turns out Mary, who we spoke to, is also a friend of Monica's. I haven't emailed Sharon yet from Family Watch, so I'm going to be doing that too. And we have Miriam Grossman. We have her on our show next week. We will be interviewing her. I'm really looking forward to that. And then I'm hoping maybe we can get them all together on a show one time.
That'd be brilliant.
We will be addressing the consultation. Consultation is not closed till July. We just got a little time. Kim is finished with her assignment. It's due in tomorrow. Her deadline's tomorrow. So she'll be slowly coming round through the week. I'm due, my assignment deadline is the middle of the week, so I'm going to be off the scene again. But as soon as we've done that, we absolutely will be tackling this consultation report and be speaking and
step at a time. Just a step at a time.
So Jason, thank you again for having us on tonight. And Grace, thank you for coming on.
I thought he was going to speak for a minute then. And catching up with everyone. Well, I
have been keeping an eye on the comments. Not so much questions tonight, just people stating the obvious that, you know, what is going on, and that this is not acceptable. So keep in tuned again, our website, Facebook, YouTube, and just keep following our campaign and learn as much as you can.
Judith Reisman, Miriam Grossman, Monica, you know, them people be a great starters to look into for anyone that's new. My screen's going a little bit funny here a minute.
All right then, well, thank you all. Night.
Thank you guys.
Night.